Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. So happy to be here with you. May is finally done. Mania is finally completed. We're here to talk about, of course, Nashville SC. I am here with Clay Trainum. Clay, was it like a relief for you, like it was me, to finally be done with this stretch of games in May? I feel like I've watched so much soccer this past month. It's been insane.
Um, yeah, I guess it was. It would feel more of a relief if it ended on a more powerful note. But
That's fair.
but yeah,
How was your
I think
weekend?
it was good. It was good. I didn't really do a whole lot. I went to the NSC match, of course. Went to Plaza Mariachi after the game because it's an afternoon game, so I can get dinner at Plaza, which is great. No free shout outs, but we're shouting them out anyway. And then
Absolutely.
I also spent the weekend wondering where Valer is. So mom's still not here back on the podcast. So who knows when they'll return.
Oh, I
I
just assume
figured
Valair has disappeared and will just reappear whenever. Like, I don't even know what is happening
I
with Valair at the
mean,
current moment.
it's an awful lot to still be celebrating Tottenham's win in Spain.
Yeah,
Like
it's
this is a
kind of
long time
strange.
Valer. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when Valer gets back. I won't be here when Valer gets back. So because I'm about to take my own 2 weeks off after this, which is perfect because there's barely any NSC games.
Who would have thought that I would be the structural standpoint of this show that is here for most weeks while you two take vacations and do your thing the entire. Who would have ever thought
This
that this show would get
this
to
is
that
the
point?
this is an early point in the season. I might remind you, Stephen.
Hey, we don't know. Like how many games are we
Hey,
in right now?
I agree, Stephen. When the team wins more regularly, you are on the show more regularly. That is something that is absolutely true.
I was gonna say it's 17 games in, man. We're halfway through the season, pretty much. It's
Yeah,
halfway. How many do
I
we
think
have?
Valer and I have only done like without you like maybe once or twice this year.
I know. I've been on it, man. I've been.
Yeah,
I look. I enjoy your
which is
two's
impressive
company.
considering how little your internet works, it seems.
That's also true. I don't know why I was given the keys while Valer was gone when it comes to running this show as well, but that's okay. Everybody is getting their due. We're getting reviews in. Everybody's getting their Nashville SC coverage. I had a great weekend as well. By the way, I didn't really do a ton. There is a free poker event on Friday that I did go to at a bar near me. I ended up winning that, which was kind of crazy. So I won a $25 gift card.
There's just no way you have a good poker face. They must be
Oh,
such
I
bad players.
I don't. And they were actually like really good. I just don't think they knew me. Where like had like a king five and got a full house out of it, which made no sense. I did get lucky a lot of the
Oh,
time,
did
but
you ever watch
I
World Series of Poker back in the day when it was on ESPN?
kind of. It's been coming up on my TikTok feed a little bit more, and I'm getting more interested in it.
There was a guy on there. I'm forgetting his name, but he was such a whiny dude. And if someone played the hand incorrectly and still won, he would just be absolutely furious. It's like Hellmuth or something like that. Like you would have been drawing the ire of him. It sounds like the whole time.
Nashville SC, of course, 10 unbeaten after this week, another dual match week. Finally, the team gets a little bit of a break with international time happening. Uh, 17 games into the season, we are currently sitting in fourth place at the current moment. Clay, 10 games unbeaten. It's weird because after this week, you want a little more. Are we being selfish in that instance, or should we be happy that we are at 10 unbeaten?
So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's very easy to come out of the last week, 2 games where Nashville held a lead late and did not win, and rue the opportunity that laid ahead. Because if Nashville holds on to a late lead in both of those games, you know, they're first place in supporter shield standings.
Right.
Like, I think that that's a completely fair thing, you know, to say. But I do want to say, like, I feel like you go to Columbus and get a point out of there. That's a result no matter what happens. And you come at home, NYCFC. I think the tired legs showed. There's some other things that we'll talk about in that game for how it played out, and that one hurts a little bit more. But what we talked about, a month ago is that I mean, 2 months ago, really, there was going to be growing pains. There's going to be times when things don't go your way. And if things not going your way is getting a draw against teams that you're competing with for playoff positioning, that's a pretty good thing to have not go your way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think coming out of that Seattle match where it felt like, okay, things are coming back down to earth. There are some spots of bother here, there, up and down the roster and in the schedule. And then going on a 10 unbeaten run, where you feel like Nashville has kind of solidified itself as a contender in the East. It's really hard to ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm hoping I honestly forget about that NYCFC match by the end of the season. I hope I don't think back on that. And obviously, we're going to talk in more specifics about it. But I keep on thinking back to before the season started in comparison to where Nashville SC is at now. They are fully in a better position than I ever expected them to be at the beginning of the season, as they would be at the halfway point. Like, and not just where they are in placement, like, per se. I would just say the style of play itself. I did not think this kind of new era of BJ Callahan would be so, like, grasped this quickly. I think there's some identity stuff that this team is going to have to worry about, which we're going to talk about in the second segment. But I never expected it to just fully overtake in the way that it has, where you see the plan and you see the plan being successful. I was worried at the beginning of the season if this plan would be successful or not. Now we're at the point of seeing it in a successful standpoint. My expectations, I'm trying not to change them because it is still kind of a new era. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in a private moment, maybe not in front of a microphone, you would have some people in the NSC front office saying it's working, and PJ probably himself saying it's working and been adopted quicker than they expected. Because, I mean, they were really, this is a system, this is going to take a while. They're really preaching that quite a bit. And it does seem like it was picked up. I do think that there's going to be, at some point, a leveling off. Like, I think that it's natural to expect that. I don't think that leveling off will look like the Seattle match, which is really the lone blemish this season is that Seattle match for, like, just not lining up, you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
with the rest of the performances. But I do think that you're gonna have to see some of these things level. I mean, you think about the fullbacks, right? Like, the fullbacks have more goal contributions than has ever happened in NSC history, in a season. Like,
Right.
you got Matthew Corcoran the other day, a guy who's on the USU 20 as a teenager, playing out of his mind against NYCFC for chunks of that game. And it's
Right.
like you can't really expect that. And I mean, you're going to see some peaks and valleys, I think, with some other guys. Obviously, Ahmed Qasim is someone that we've talked about has kind of been a roller coaster ride in terms of performances. But you say all that, and then you think about it. Well, Walker Zimmerman was out for a month and a half, and they've hit on some of the international guys that they historically haven't hit on, whether that's Palacios, whether that's obviously Eddie Tagseth. Patrick
Right.
Yazbek is certainly starting to look the part, although Patrick Yazbek might have to watch his back a little bit with the way Matthew Corcoran's playing. So it's like these question marks that we've had have all been answered pretty convincingly so far. And
Yep.
that's the part where you're like, well, maybe there won't be some great leveling off because this doesn't seem particularly fluky.
Right. And like I think that like I brought it up a couple times where I'm like I'm optimistic, but I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop, right? Like I'm waiting for the thing to happen that kind of takes this team down into the, a different realm that they haven't been to yet, where they're really struggling. But I think you're right; they already kind of did that against Seattle, where we had the optimal lineup out there and it just didn't necessarily succeed. Where they kind of fixed some of those mistakes. I don't
Well,
know.
I think Seattle was just they got the tactics wrong from the start, and it showed whenever it got exposed. But like the one thing, this is the part that I've been thinking about the last probably 2 weeks is obviously Sam Surge is having a great season. He's near the
Yes.
top of the Golden Boot. Like this is what we want to see. Hani Mukhtar's having a great season, and I don't feel like he's pressed down hard on the gas pedal yet.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what I
fair.
mean? Like,
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
I like he's having a really good season, and honestly, if where he is right now is the way he plays all season, he's going to be, talked about as a potential MVP. Although not about in front of Sam Surridge if he keeps scoring at this rate. But like where Hani's played, I don't really feel like we've seen Hani take over a game yet in the way that we've seen it in the past, and I
Right.
think that's really interesting because like if he starts scoring in addition to the way that he's passing and setting up plays at the moment, like that's I mean that could take Nashville into a really a different status. I mean, considering that neither Sam nor Hani are stars, if they become star players, you know,
Right. I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, if they're not stars, according to some prominent national writers, if they become star players, watch out, Nashville will be real good.
Well, they were talked about so much during that match by the announcers, just the tandem themselves specifically, and obviously we'll talk more about it. And specifically, I think one of the goals themselves was a Hani Sam Surge masterpiece. But I think okay, so let's do it from this overall
Okay,
perspective.
just to clarify for the people who aren't terminally online like me, the star player was a reference to a writer for the Athletic saying Nashville has 0 star players.
Oh,
Because
that
not
was
everyone who
actually good.
listens to this is terminally online, so I just want to make
I
sure that I wasn't calling them not star players. I was being sarcastic.
I kind of needed that. Thank you very much. I even needed that reference. I totally forgot about that. Okay. Nashville is currently in fourth place, sitting on 29 points. Tied with Miami at the current moment. Miami does have a game in hand. You have Cincy above, you have Philly above, Columbus below. At this current moment,
Hold on just a moment. Valer, how's Bilbao?
what, what,
I'm not in
what?
Bilbao. What's up,
We thought you
y'all?
were
You're
still in
not?
Bilbao celebrating Tottenham.
You're not?
Oh, oh, I have so many words to say. Oh man, what's up, y'all? How's it going? Look at this view I got over here. The vibes are
Well,
vibing.
fantastic. Well,
It's a
this is
great.
great.
Thanks for telling us about your view on this audio medium.
Hey,
Yeah, it's really nice to also
this
crash in at the middle of recording as well.
this is
Really appreciate that.
this is an advertisement for the tier, the capo tier. Because did you know that currently, because of Nashville SC having 10 games unbeaten, you can get the capo tier for 3 months for $10 only. So if you haven't signed up, sign up now. And now you can see me out here in Spain, living my life, having a good time. Or you can hear me, whichever you prefer. But if you pay, you get to see me. What's up, guys? You having a good time? What segment are you on? I have no idea what's going on. What time is it?
Thanks
What
for
is
all of this,
happening right
Valer.
now?
We were literally in the middle of wrapping up the first segment.
You rapping what?
Like you plugged in at the end of the first segment, like
Oh,
as we were
perfect
wrapping it.
timing. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Let me tell you about my weekend. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just wanted to say hi. I gotta go back. I'm leaving tomorrow back home. So I'll be back into regular schedule programming, but I just wanted to say hello
Yeah,
to
we're
Well,
trading Valer for me in Europe. I'm going to Europe
really
and Valer's
quick,
coming home.
really quick, Falaire, as you're currently sitting here, I was just about to ask Clay a question. I'll ask you it while you're here as well.
yeah, let's do it.
Currently sitting in fourth place at the current moment.
Yes.
Does Nashville start with a home game in the playoffs at this current moment? Yes or
Yes,
no?
yes.
Yes, I'll go. I'll go yes, just simply because the teams around Nashville seem to be all taking points from each other. and there doesn't seem to be like one clear winner. And every couple of weeks we have a new team kind of jump up. Miami might end up being that, but who knows? And with kind of teams taking points off of each other, I think that gives the Nashville a little bit more of an advantage, especially with how they played at home this stretch, which I saw very little of. No, I saw the second half of the latest game, which was the worst half apparently.
It's your
So
fault.
that's all I caught. But yeah, I think they would. I think that's a very much possibility.
Fantastic. Well, Valere, thank you so much for hijacking the show. It's very much
Hey,
appreciated to see your face. I miss
Please leave.
you.
I would say
Please get out of here.
I would say thank you for having me on, but you had no idea I was getting on. So goodbye, y'all.
And we will be back to talk more about the games that did happen. We had no idea that was happening, by the way. I like to act like the show. And he's the one, Valera's the one that plans
He's got
all things,
such an
right?
ego. He's got such an
He's,
ego. He
did you
can't do
see?
2 shows without hearing his
No,
voice.
no, you cannot. Like he literally, he knew we were sitting here
Even
talking.
Steven will be the first to show you his face on a Nashville SC billboard, and Valere somehow has a bigger ego than Steven. Figure that one out.
We'll be back to talk about the matches specifically. I like talking about okay. We'll be back. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at PharmaSoccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also check us out on 615soccer.com. Is Valere so rudely interrupted in a very salesman capacity? We do have a fun special deal now that Nashville is 10 unbeaten. You can have 3 months of the Capo tier for $10. So if you do want to check that out and just give it a trial, guys, the Capo tier is so much fun. You get a video recording of you could actually see where Valere was when he rudely interrupted. If you are a part of that tier, a lot of the fun benefits, a lot of fun analysis articles. It's awesome, guys. We really love
Yeah.
being a part of this.
And you want to get in on the tier now, because if Nashville goes 15 unbeaten, that promo will be for $15 instead of $10. So you may as well do it now.
I mean, again, we don't even need Valere to interrupt. We just need Clay to bring us logic into these sales. So, but
Yeah.
guys, it is a lot of fun. I love being a part of 615soccer.com. I love what we are building. So please make sure you do check that out. See what the Capo tier is like. Would love to have you a part of it. Also, pharmasoccer.com for some merchandise as well. Please make sure to check that out. That'd be great. All right. We got to get into this busy week, though. I
Speaking of
think
the
we
Pharma
start.
merchandise,
Yeah.
it was the first non-win with me wearing the Pharma Soccer shirt the other day.
Uh-oh.
It's the first time we didn't win when I was wearing it.
Well, we do need to reach out to patient Uncle Beezy, though, to see if he was wearing Pharma merch, because the last time he won, that's when Nashville won by 7 goals. So we'll reach out to him, see if he was actually wearing the merch. But that match, of course, 2-2 draw against New York City at home, ending our May time. Of course, Sam Surridge getting those 2 goals in the first half, New York City coming back in the second half. Let's get it out of the way. I think we get the big elephant in the room out of the way because we need to, right?
Yeah. Like, obviously,
It was just the way you said, yeah. You're like, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with this. Like, I'm so
well,
bad right now.
No, I was trying to make a joke because you said get the elephant out of the room, and I was like, and get the zebra out of Murfreesboro. But wouldn't that be great if get the zebra out of Murfreesboro ends up being like a cliche of some sort?
Go to pharmasoccer.com to get the zebra out of Murfreesboro shirt that we are currently going to be selling. But no.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so goal line technology. So I think that the most logical place to start is the thing that's most infuriating about the NYCFC game. I have some thoughts about it separate from my thoughts on the NSC performance, which is first that it's absolutely farcical that Major League Soccer doesn't have goal line technology. because, I mean, it's been around for over a decade.
It's
Most of the leagues in the
insane.
world, most of the
Yes.
leagues that you would consider the big boy leagues in the world have it. It's
Yes.
required for the World Cup, which is going to be in the
Right.
US, and it's been in the World Cup for over a decade. So you would just
Breach.
think they'd have it. Now, previously, the uh, the reason MLS gave for not adopting it was that it was expensive, quoting a price between $200,000 and $300,000 per stadium. I find those numbers quite dubious. They're also from like 10 years ago. So they're definitely dubious now. And um, it was very rude and unfair. But I said on Discord the other day, we pay Teal Bunbury that much to make sure goals aren't scored all the time. So, which I
Which
like Teal.
I do wish there was a little bit more of an answer, by the way, of why he wasn't even on the bench at all. I'm very curious about that because he was not
You know,
realistically
he's an older
speaking.
player. It was a heavy month. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if they were just giving him a rest. But moving on from that, and mean spirited jokes aside, because I do in fact quite like Deal, but I just think like it is frankly unprofessional to not have goal line technology at this point. If you can have um, tech innovations for cricket tournaments that only have like a few hundred people in the stands that are taking place in the US, and you can have these sorts of things at tennis, and you can have, any reputable, major league is going to have something akin to this. I don't understand why you can't have it in MLS. And the reason why we're focusing on it, because you wouldn't actually know it if you read some of the stories about this game, thanks to AP writing or AI writing, it probably cost Nashville a goal.
Yeah.
Hani Mukhtar looked to have scored. I don't, with the caveat that there's no absolutely clear angle that the ball was in. There's an angle that looks pretty convincing, but it's not necessarily clear. What you do see is the top half of the goalkeeper's body completely in the goal and the ball appearing to cross the line, and it was not called a goal in the game. And they did not go to VAR to review it, presumably
Well,
because there's not going to be anything clear enough because they don't have a good angle and there's no goal line technology. Now, if that were to happen in the Premier League, basically, if it were a good goal in the Premier League, if that were to happen within seconds, fractions of a second sometimes, of that ball going through, the referee would get an alert on the watch and then would point at the circle for a goal.
right.
So I do. It is infuriating because at that point in time, it puts Nashville up 3-1. Nashville's at home playing 3-1. New York City FC. It probably changes the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
that's it.
it's just something that's annoying more than anything else.
Well, in the thought, like from a national perspective as well, it's unfortunate because normally there's got to be something egregious that does trigger something to happen, right? This is such an like to me this is such an egregious call. You look at that the one angle that there is and it is pretty convincing. There does have to be some sort of change specifically whether and there's multiple ways to do goal line technology. The way the Premier League does it, it is a sensor, right? It is not necessarily camera specifically. It is a sensor. If it goes if it goes across the line, it's across the line. There's other places that do a specific camera on the like there are different like cheaper, more expensive ways to do it. But if you are looking to be a top 5 league, top 6 league in the world, you want players to be able to come here, experience it. The amount of money that some of these owners specifically have, the amount of money that they are cheating off of teams like Seattle Sounders for being in the Club World Cup, like you gotta have the specific things like a goal line because this affects the results. Like I
And
brought it up in the first segment. Imagine if we do not make a home playoff game by 3 points,
yeah,
2 points,
so
whatever.
what I'll say is, first off, yes, I think MLS probably has, if not the richest median ownership groups in the league in the world, they're probably in the top two. you know,
Right.
because the middle of the pack owner in MLS is a multi-billionaire. It's just the way the league is, and so
Yeah.
these are pennies.
I,
on the
I remember
dollar.
seeing I remember seeing something that David Tepper, the owner of Charlotte FC, he would be the second richest owner in the Premier League,
Yeah,
which is
and it's
wild.
hard to be the richest because of Man City. And so,
Yep.
like, it's but anyway, like, putting that aside, like, there's no real financial reason. Ultimately, it's only gonna change when the owners that actually spend lots of money see their teams lose games on calls like this. Putting all of that aside, I think, like, the part that just irks me about it is that if you don't have full information, you go on what's most likely the case, and contextually, you would say that that's a goal. I mean, everyone is reacting like it's a goal. The keeper's body is in the goal. Like, so it seems more likely than not that the ball was in the goal too. But this is the part where I think it becomes pretty clear to me how far Nashville SC has to go as a mainstream sport in Nashville. Because if this was a call that caused the Titans to lose a game, it would be the only thing on sports radio today, yesterday, tomorrow, next week.
Right.
Like, it would
Right.
be the
No,
only
that's
thing that gets
fair.
talked
That's
about,
a really good point.
and so when these sorts of things happen, I like to keep an eye on what some of the sports stuff folks in the city are talking about, and they're talking about Vandy, losing in the college baseball playoffs to Wright State, by the way, go Raiders. But I do think, like, it that's the way that's a weird take. I know that that's not really about soccer, but it is one of those things where it's like, this really reminds me how much further we have to go because, I'm not seeing, mainstream Nashville sports people talking about it. And this is like a massively questionable thing that happened.
Well, I think it's really interesting too if I mean, even if you look at the 615 Discord and the other discussions kind of going on about it, like nobody's necessarily really like they're mad, but it's not like an up in arms like the rules need to change like nobody's business right now. It is mainly just this sucks this happened. Let's I mean, it sucks it happened because of the fact of what happened throughout the match, I believe. So let's kind of let's talk about that a little bit.
Well,
I
and
think
so
that's
that's what I said. Like, um, I've had reasonable people disagree with me on this, and I understand it. I don't really care. I don't really think that that goal not counting is the reason that Nashville SC didn't win that game. It certainly didn't help, and I think they win if the goal does count. That put aside, Nashville SC is tired. They played 9 games in a month. That's hard,
yes.
and it is worth noting. They played a lot of 2 match weeks, and they made a pretty big tactical change in the way that they've attacked these games this season at the end of this game. And I couldn't believe it. Now I understand people are tired and you're kind of doing what you can, but like I think that you can ask some real questions about bringing in two D mids, one as a sub and one for Hadi Mukhtar with 15 minutes left in the game,
Well,
which is just it. Like I understand, like if it was Gary Smith making this call, right? That team trains to play that way. Like they're schooled in playing that way and seeing out results and trying to get wins. This team doesn't really play that way very often. They do every once in a while, but they aren't trained to play that way. And even in those scenarios under the previous coaching staff, he basically never pulled Hani because Hani was like an
right.
insurance policy. They gave up the goal, they at least have the guy who can change the game still out there. And when he
Well,
pulled Hani, I was like, this is not going to end well.
I have a question for you just because it kind of relates as well to kind of because the same thing happened in Columbus, right? In a different way, but a lead evaporated in Columbus. Columbus, more of the second half, we kept on trying to put up the pressure. Like it wasn't like we were not going for, another goal, keeping up the pressure. That didn't work in holding the lead. BJ Callahan decides to come into this match, do the complete opposite, park the bus absolutely completely. That didn't work. Do you think this is starting to become a real identity problem? Or do you think this is something that like this team is great, but like this thing keeps happening? Or do you think this is something that it's just this is kind of the figuring out the system?
I don't think it's either really. I think if there weren't the wins that happened this year, the all the wins that happened and being in the table, I think it'd be easy to look at last year and the defensive lapses that happened last year in the context of blowing these leads. And I think it'd be easy to like extrapolate that. In this case, I think that there are reasons that make sense on paper and that don't quite jive. So, like, you're in Columbus, right? Columbus is one of the best teams in the league, desperate for a win because they hadn't won in a couple weeks, despite being one of the best teams in the league. You're playing with house money. You're on the road, and you've gotten a lead, and I think you could see the way that game played because Nashville, like, they were getting the brakes beat off them at the end of that first half,
Yep.
and they gradually grew more into the game in the second half. But like, you make the offensive subs because, like, hey, no one's gonna really look at this in a bad way if we go for it here and get a win. But then you see the opposite kind of happen at home, and usually that's a lot of
Right.
times you do that
It's
the
flipped.
opposite way.
Right.
Yeah, like you
Unless
go
you've been a
defensive
Nashville
on the
SC fan
road.
for the past 4 years, and it's no matter what, if it's home or away, you're in the park the bus
Yeah,
scenario.
but like, um, but like usually it's like, okay, this is a point, defend this point on the road. And so I was really excited to see the subs made. And I was, we'll get into Columbus in a second, but like that was a very offensive minded way of going to Columbus. And then coming home, like I was sitting there like, oh, they're gonna bring on Schaffelberg or something, somebody to try and go against the tired because NYCFC played 8 games in May, so it's not like they're
Yeah,
not tired.
they've been in the same kind of instance, and they're away,
Yeah,
and they haven't really necessarily shaped their lineup differently. It's kind of been the same lineup
yeah. And
throughout.
so I was just like, so I was just really, really surprised by the choices because you're at home, you've got your biggest crowd of the season, you've blown a 2 goal lead. Well, at that point, it was a 1 goal lead. And I was just like, surely you're going to keep your foot on the neck and go for it. And, they
Well, it
give up a goal that they probably don't give up most of the time, but it did feel like it was coming because obviously
right.
Joe didn't cover himself in glory in that. But I think I I do want to talk about the positives from this game because we talked about goal line technology and talking about blowing a lead. I think there's still a lot of good in this game.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, just from that tactical standpoint as well, like even if you're not going for it, I did find it weird that Schaffelberg did not come on because he still has that pace specifically to kind of drive the ball into the like even if you are sitting back to have that one player that you could have an outlet to.
And it felt like the
Like
game
that was the
needed
one
that too,
tactical
right?
weird one for me.
Like it
I'm
felt
sorry.
like the game needed that because like Nahar was beating guys, initially, but he doesn't have like the speed full to go the length of the field. And Nashville was getting in behind. So it just felt like if you put Schaffelberg in there, like who knows if he scores or not, but like if you put Schaffelberg in there, you're going to have a couple opportunities come up out of it.
Especially with the way, to go to a positive note, the way that Matthew Cochran was throwing out hockey
Corcoran.
assists like nobody's business. Like he, but you talked about it in the first segment about him getting a little bit more time. Man, he looked the part against NYCFC.
Yeah, yeah, I think that he had been playing well enough to earn a shot, and he got his shot against NYCFC and put in the shift. I mean, the first goal. I mean, it's funny because like I'm at the game and I'm watching the game, and I was so enamored with the touch that Hani had to backheel it to Surridge for the first
Same, yeah.
goal that I lost track of the fact that it was Corcoran who played it over the top to Hani. So like it didn't even click to me until I watched the highlights, and then I mean the second one, Corcoran was just great on the second one, and he was really finding some, and that's one of those things like for all the positives that we've been able to say about NSC's midfield with Yazbek and Tagseth, this is one of those things that hasn't fully shown through,
Yep.
like picking out those particular passes. And that's something that Dax McCarty would do, you know,
Yep.
and not that Yazbek and Tagseth aren't good passers. They are, but you know, those types of balls getting one out to the wing, one over the top, like, I mean,
Well,
that's the type of stuff.
you've been seeing him from our center backs. You've been seeing it from our, our full backs. You haven't necessarily seen that from the middle
Right.
specifically.
Well, and it just adds another wrinkle, right? Like, because Nashville has had to play with the play in possession a lot this season, so you haven't necessarily seen the turn it over, go upfield immediately and get something. And then we saw that several times this week, and so we're starting to see different ways of scoring goals and different people involved. So that part's really, really good to see. But yeah, like Corcoran, well, you know, he's somebody who's now going to reiterate the talking point that we've had all season. The biggest story with NSC this year is depth,
Yep.
and so it is, whether that's at the fullback position, although they still need a little bit more depth on left back, of course, but we've seen it with the wingers. We've seen a lot of different people play effectively on the wing, whether it's Perez, Schaffelberg, Kasim, who didn't have a great game against NYCFC, Alex Wheel, who's had a pretty good season this year. And so now how everyone's kind of lifted. Now we're seeing it in the midfield with Tagseth, Yazbek, Corcoran, starting to see that kind of get lifted. I will like to say I feel like we have to mention that Tagseth was pulled at half,
Yep.
um, and he was missed quite a bit. But I do have some concerns that he might be irreplaceable in midfield for this NSC team at the moment. So hopefully we can see levels change there a little bit. But I mean, Corcoran was great, Hani was great, Surge was great, like especially in that first half. And Hani, I think, deserves a goal after the last few. I mean, he scored against Columbus, but like he deserves a few more goals on that score sheet. So I did feel pretty bad for him. That goal did not count.
Yeah, I do too, and especially with the way that like him, Hani and Sam are playing. Um, I do want to real quick before we get into Hani and Sam, because I think that does roll over into the Columbus match as well.
I just want to toss this in. You'll appreciate it.
Yes.
So Hani would have scored a goal against a New York team, and John Freeman made it not happen. And I just want to take this moment to remind you that Levo Maloto scored an unbelievable goal against a New York team that ultimately didn't count. I just wanted to point out another number 10, because they replayed that game, and in the replay of that game, John Freeman sent off Forrest Laszlo for nothing. Not that I hold a grudge against John Freeman at all. What a great commentator, not a great referee.
I think so. I do think Eddie needed to probably come off at halftime. He's run 94 miles a game, like pretty much. Like it's kind of wild. Like he probably did need to come off. I am I- I'm very curious to see that go throughout the season if he's extremely irreplaceable. Throughout. But Hani and Sam, I have another question for you, and I think there's probably an answer. This kind of leads into the Columbus game because one, that Columbus game was insane. It was a lot. It was a fun match to watch. It was a crazy game, but I think Hani and Sam are both important in NYCFC and Columbus. Is this the best duo that Nashville SC has ever had when it comes
Yeah,
to agreed?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that big year that we always talked about with Hani and CJ Sapong, like Sam Surge will probably match Sapong's scoring from that year next game. So
Yep.
like the thing for me that stands out is it doesn't feel out of place when they score. Like it feels very within. It's hard to describe this, right? So like when we watch Hani have those big years in scoring, sometimes it felt like it came from nothing.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
as a counterattack, Hani was so good at the counter. Hani had pace with the ball at his feet. You know, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do about it, especially in 2021 and 2022. Everybody in the league knew it, just was what it was. And it just feels like we haven't seen necessarily these cases of this like amazing individual brilliance that leads to the goals. It feels like very like, oh, that was a nice little passage, ends with a goal, as you expect. Like
Well,
we see a lot more of that as opposed to like this sort of individual efforts, and that's the part that sticks out to me. And that's not to say that we didn't see that on the counters with Hani and CJ Sapong and whatnot, but it just feels the way that they score goals comes across so natural that
Well,
it's
the percentage point always came out like during Gary Smith's team that Hani Mukhtar has been involved or scored 65% of Nashville SC's goals, right? Like it was always that specific, and it always felt like it though. It specifically felt like Hani Mukhtar contributed to 70% of Nashville's goals in his tenure. Where you are watching this team, yeah, it is him and Sam that are mainly on the score sheet, but you are watching that build up play specifically. Like you are watching the way that it comes out of the back. You're not watching that individual brilliance.
well, it's I mean, let me cachet that a little bit. So there are moments of individual brilliance. Obviously, Hani does a back heel to set up Sam Surge. That does not everybody in the league can do that. There are just little bits and pieces of it, but it's not like a one man effort. It does really feel like a team thing. So like you have that back heel assist from Alex Wheel a few weeks ago. Obviously, you have all of the play from Andy Nahar specifically, but both Andy Nahar and Dan Lovitz this year. Everything just feels more balanced, and
Yep.
so I don't think the goals that you see Nashville score this year are particularly highlight worthy. Like their highlights in their sort of simplicity, and like that's a really good cross or that's a really good counter. There's a lot of passes that led to that. Like you're not seeing just banger after banger, like it feels earned. Like it feels very like okay. And I don't know if there's a way to necessarily like describe that. And of course, you're talking about, I mean, a Columbus game, obviously, Hani scores on rebound, so like whatever. But
Right.
like it is, it's just something that sort of sticks out in the way that it doesn't stick out, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Like in I think it's fun to see. Like I honestly think it's a much more like it makes the team a lot more entertaining to watch because there is so many other play. I mean, you talked about now Corcoran like being another wrinkle like in this. Where
Yeah.
does he kind of fit into this kind of playmaking ability?
The yeah, I will say this. I don't know that I would describe the Columbus game as entertaining. I would describe it as anxiety inducing.
Oh,
And
I thought in a great way. I thought it was
no,
entertaining.
I know.
Like
I
I
mean,
walked.
if you are a neutral and you don't have a rooting interest in that game, you're like, this is a playoff MLS game. This is great. If you're a Nashville fan, that first half was hell. That it wasn't Clay watching Everton potentially getting relegated on the last day of season hell, but it wasn't fun. And it was very funny. I got a text from my wife. She's like, we started watching around the 66th minute. This is so stressful. And I was like,
You
oh,
should have
then you didn't
started
even watch
at
the
the
first
50.
half. You should have watched the first half. That first half was, I had to double up the blood pressure meds after that first half.
Yeah, that I mean, I knew kind of how Columbus plays the ball. They're very possession heavy team, so we were kind of just playing into what was happening, and I didn't. But from the neutral, if you were just that was the first MLS game you watched specifically because you got a game though. We'll say that. I do wish Nashville would have gotten more than 2 points out of this week. Obviously, I think everybody does, but still sitting in a good spot in the team going into the international break, where this team and all teams in MLS get some much needed rest. And we get some much needed rest as well as commentator because there's been a lot to watch. We do have a third segment to go into talk about. We have some reviews, we have some international break news to talk about. I also want to talk about some just other international competition, and we'll do that next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at PharmaSoccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Of course, 615soccer.com. 10 unbeaten. So if you want to be a Capital member for $10 for the next 3 months, check that out. Would love to have you a part of 615soccer.com, as well as PharmaSoccer. Go get some merch. Go get some PharmaSoccer merch. We would love for you to be swagged up for this June in some Pharma Soccer merch. So go check that out. Um, look, it's still kind of it's a was a busy May for a lot of MLS soccer, but there was a lot of other soccer that kind of happened around this weekend as well that I just want to touch on. Champions League final, absolute bore. CONCACAF Champions League Cup. Thank you, Vancouver, for completely disappointing everybody. Like I started watching that game last night and I was so hyped. I'm like, we're gonna do it again. MLS got this. No, not it. I didn't even realize that. We'll talk about it. That Bogusz was a part of the Cruz Azul team and absolutely drained a banger on Vancouver as well. But thank you, Vancouver, for disappointing us in that. Speaking of LAFC, completely disappointing FIFA when it comes to winning that match against Club America. FIFA wanted Club America to win that playoff game so bad just for ticket prices alone in the United States. How many people do you think will be at that LAFC match in Nashville now in comparison to what it would have been if it was Club America?
Significantly fewer. Although Club America is the scene of the crime for a lot, or Geodis Park is the scene of the crime for several Club America fans. Is they've lost in penalties both times they've come to Geodis. So maybe we just help them by having LAFC here instead.
I will say that I did watch kind of part of that match. The Club America fans versus the LAFC fans was one of the most. I haven't seen that much entertainment just from a fan perspective in a very long time. It was really, really fun to witness. I don't know if you saw it at all, Clay, but they literally had
I've
Club
seen
America.
some of it. I mean, the easy joke to hear would be to make is like, well, yeah, it's Chivas fans versus Club America's fans.
That's fair. That's fair.
R.I.P. Chivas USA.
R.I.P. Chivas. I don't know. Any other MLS results really stick? Columbus bad, or is Miami? Is Columbus bad, or is Miami back?
I mean, Miami's back, but I the Vancouver thing kind of sticks out, like because obviously Vancouver was hotter than a pistol for so long, but they've only won like one of their last like 5 or 6 MLS matches, and
Yep.
Maybe they've been fixture congestion, of course, playing Champions League. So you don't want to read too far into that, but it is something to consider. And I do think that they were going to get absolutely dominated with the way that game played. I don't think it really mattered if Berhalter would have played or not, but
right.
They didn't even get a shot off. Just crazy. So.
And like the way that, like,
I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch a ton of the MLS this weekend that didn't involve Nashville.
That's fair. I mean, look, Nashville's the most important. I mean, you don't get these abilities to have 3:30 matches on occasion where you still have your Saturday night. You know what I mean? You don't get those options all the time.
We need more afternoon games at Geodis Park. It is the best. There's only been a few of them.
It was really funny just to even like have like friends talk about like, oh my God, like I got to go eat dinner on Saturday night, like somewhere after the match.
And the good thing now, obviously, the reason why there are fewer afternoon games is because MLS teams historically do better with the Saturday evening games, which is the reason why they play so many games Saturday evening.
Right.
That being said, the Saturday game for NSC does stand out as a good little reminder that Saturday afternoon does well too. And
yes.
Maybe it doesn't work that way in every market, but Nashville it does. So hopefully there'll be more of those in the future because I love them.
I hope so too. Obviously, during like the crazy summer months, it's a little tough just based on heat. But
yeah,
come on, MLS, help us out here. Like, get us some like March, April, like September, October midweek match. That would be choice.
I mean that when we celebrated our 200th episode, like it was like a 4 p.m. kickoff. It was gret.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
maybe when we celebrate our 300th episode,
it's gonna be coming up. Is it this year? Or end of this year? Start next year?
I think it is end of this. I'm not sure if it hits at the end of this year, but
it won't be in the season. But yeah.
But we do have a couple ratings and reviews to go over and talk about. Very excited. y'all have been on it when it comes to the ratings and reviews. Truly appreciate it. It means you're really listening, really caring about the show. So please make sure you do leave a 5-star review. Again, we will read them on air. This is the first. I'm excited because this is the first one that Clay gets to read, and I've just never heard these words out of Clay's mouth before, so I'm very excited for this. So Clay, why don't you read the first one?
Yeah, it says it's not for me to read. I'm just reading it to be nice to Steven. And it says, "It's okay, Steven." Steven, of course, spelled with a V, as you're supposed to. As a younger Nashville fan, this podcast is great to listen to. It's great to learn about the history before I became a fan back in late 2023. And by the way, shout out to Hydro Flask Water Bottle. Becoming a fan in late 2023 is a choice.
It is absolutely a choice.
Because it's like, I'm going to become a fan after all the good stuff has already happened.
Yes.
I'm 15, but still a big fan and go to all the matches. Y'all make some great content, and it's fun to tune in every week to hear y'all's perspective. Thanks for all you do. He also ends by saying, also go LFC, which I'm not sure which town that is, and YNWA, which I think stands for Yodelers Never Wear Adidas.
I'll let you have that just because, I'm just gonna let
It doesn't spell it out.
knows.
It doesn't
Everybody
spell
knows
it
what
out.
that is, so I'm just gonna specifically let you have that one. One, awesome that a 15-year-old is listening to this show. By the way, that's super cool. It's really we love doing the show for everybody. It's really
the
fun
only
to see.
way Steven's allowed to talk to children.
Why do you have to be weird about that? I was going into this nice thing. Oh my God, Clay. Now put the other one in Slack so I can read that one too. And hate my
It's
life.
already in Slack. So NSC fan put this in Slack. He starts out with great NSC podcast. Steven, you want to pick it up?
Great NSC podcast. That is the title. Hi, my name is Steven Kind of Robinson. I kind of say kind of a lot. Last episode, I said kind of at least 36 times. Kind of according to the transcript of the podcast from Apple Podcasts. Kind of is kind of my thing. I love NSC kind of a lot. Kind of sincerely. Stephen Kind of Robinson. Did I really? Okay. If you've known me for a little bit when it comes just for Nashville interviews, this show, I have a verbal tick where I will just instead of saying I will stick on one word as my if I'm trying to process where I'm going with things. And apparently last week it was kind of. When this first show started, I said ladies and gentlemen all the time, which of course these two yelled at me for all the time. There's an embarrassing clip of me during the council meetings for the stadium where I said you guys about 25 times in a 1-minute speech. So, yes, thank you. I said kind of a lot, and I apologize for that. I'm never going to say kind of again. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Kind of.
Well, Steven, just know that I'll make fun of you for a lot of things, but I don't make fun of you for your verbal tics.
What a guy. What a guy. If you want to make fun of me or somebody else, please make fun of somebody else. I mean, you don't have to, but make fun of somebody else.
Somebody
What?
has to come for Valair.
I don't
someone
get
has
it.
to have a go at Valair. He's not even on the show right now. And when he does show up, he interrupts and just throws everything off. The ego on that guy. Make fun of Valair. It's not hard, guys. So if there's a Tottenham fan out there that wants to hear a congratulations read from an Arsenal fan, now's your chance. All you got to do is do a 5-star review, and I'm not even here next week. So Valair definitely has to read it.
I also do have to know the next review will, and I believe this is the case. I think we're at 69 reviews at the current moment. So if you do review, you will ruin it. So appreciate that. Nice. Anyways, look, we don't have any games to preview, but we do got to talk about just kind of the international break itself, because the worst thing imaginable has happened, I believe, when it comes to a U.S. men's national team perspective, in Walker Zimmerman getting called up. which is extremely unfortunate. I used to think this was a great thing. Now I'm just like, I don't want this to happen. Like, this is how much like the U.S. men's national team had like because I think this is. I don't think this is just a me feeling. I think this is an overall feeling, right?
Yeah, it's always interesting for me. Now, I've watched this league for a long time, and I watched this league before Stephen and Blair did. And that's not to lord it over. It's just me talking about being an MLS fan for a long time, and it's always very fun for me to watch fan bases start to hate the international break because the on ramp for so many American soccer fans is the U.S. national team, and they don't understand how anyone could cheer for their local club, vis-a-vis, the U.S. national team, because that's the on ramp. That's how they get interested in it, and then they start to have a team they watch every week. And then someone goes on international break and their team doesn't do well, or the guy gets hurt on international break, and they're like, "I hate international break." And so it's Nashville starts to get some national teamers. You're like, hey, yeah, we're representing the national team going to the World Cup, and then you get to a certain point, you're like, these are friendlies, they don't matter. I don't care that it's in Nashville. I don't want Walker on the team. Wrap him in bubble wrap, bring him back.
Oh my god, yeah, and that's it, especially with Walker, right? Like we just went through this whole experience with Walker, and like now he's shaved his head. Like I don't want. Which, by the way, this is insane.
Well, I mean, this is like the wildest.
This is so stupid.
Let's dunk on Valer some more. He made us take off the dramatic hair bet that has been on there for years. He made us take that off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there's been like 7.
Oh, absolutely. And in the season, and we're only halfway through the season too. We're not even like Walker's Zimmerman, that would have been a me joke. Like that would have been like, it's Walker Zimmerman that's going to dramatically cut his hair.
If you had Andy Nahar, you would have lost because Walker's was way more dramatic.
Absolutely. Like I don't. Like what? Eddie Tagstaff is going to shave his head next? Like what is happening this season?
I mean, clearly we can't take the dramatic hair change is coming back on next year's prop bets.
Oh, absolutely has to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It literally has to.
I was furious. I was furious when that happened.
All right, but
anyway, going back,
yes,
Walker Zimmerman, obviously Patrick Yazbek also going up for big qualifiers for Australia for the World Cup, and
yep.
He's the star of the episode, but Matt Corcoran called up to the US U20s as well. So some fun stuff happened on the international level.
Especially with the way the U20s, like, it seems like they are playing. I mean, he's kind of right in the mix there of just being really integral to that squad. So shout out to him for being called up for that. Where is the June? I know that the June 10th one is in Nashville, obviously. So enjoy spending way too much money to go watch that crap team play. Besides Walker Zimmerman, of course. But
the June 7th one is against Turkey, and it is in, I believe, Connecticut. I'm double checking. Yeah, it's in Hartford. By the way, I just want to peel back the curtain a little bit. We heard that there might be a U.S. men's national team match in Nashville before it was announced. And Valer and I went through the European schedule to try and figure out which teams it would be. And there were basically 3 teams it could be. And it was Turkey, Ukraine, and Switzerland. And so it's like, it's going to be one of those 3. I doubt it's going to be Ukraine. And I was like, and then they're definitely not going to play Turkey in Nashville for,
right
reasons. And so I was just like, so I bet it's Switzerland. And then it was Switzerland. And then the other game ended up being Turkey. Never felt more vindicated.
All right, because we got to end with a prediction. I don't care about the Turkey game. What USA versus Switzerland? What is the score going to be for that match? Plugs and everything. Let's end it.
Well, I mean, you'll have an episode before that match, but I won't be on
true.
it. So
that's true.
You can follow me at Claylasso. You can follow me at Claylasso on Instagram and on Twitter. I didn't get to the local soccer roundup, but shout out to the Nashville Rhythm for winning 4-3 on Sunday night. And against FC Birmingham. And for what happens with the Switzerland match, well, I will be watching it in Switzerland, which is going to be strange. And I say that I probably won't be, but I'll be keeping track of it while I'm in
I was
Switzerland.
going to say, are you actually going to watch it?
I don't think so. But I'm going to say that the U.S. draws 0-0.
Agreed. I think that's a great prediction. That was mine as well. It's going to be awful, and it's going to be a 0-0 draw. Thank you again so much for listening to the show. Clay will be gone for the next couple weeks in Europe, so enjoy that. Valere back next episode, though, with me. You still have to deal with me. Make sure you leave your ratings and reviews that Valere has to read on air, that I don't, that Valere does. But looking forward to seeing all of you next week. Enjoy your international break and take it easy.